While boss fights are often operatic, intense affairs that cause you to need to pull out all the stops if you want to come out the other side unscathed, or at least alive if not unscathed, some boss fights go the other way, and you can knock them over by doing sweet FA. You might need to be patient, and you might end up feeling like a rather inadequate quote-unquote hero as a result, but even with your inaction, you made it past these bosses all the same. And you know what they say, you can't argue with results. I'm Jess from WhatCulture, and here are 10 video game bosses you can beat by doing nothing. Number 10, the Dragon Rider, Dark Souls 2. Dark Souls 2 may not be many folks' favorite Soulsborne game. If it's anybody's favorite Soulsborne game, do let me know in the comments. But it does have one hilarious method for dispatching a boss that you probably didn't see coming. Rather than battle the Dragon Rider the good old-fashioned, inevitably frustrating way, there's a cheesy strategy for rinsing him in mere seconds while expending about a calorie of effort. First off, make sure you don't activate any switches which make the arena larger, because keeping things confined and maintaining access to the water below are absolutely vital. Now here's what you're going to want to do, and listen carefully because this gets complicated. At the start of the fight, what you want to do is stand still and then watch as Dragon Rider takes 6 steps. Immediately after this, run to his right. This will trigger him executing his thrust attack, which will cause him to plunge into the drink below, instantly killing him in gut-busting fashion and giving you the W. The effort to payoff ratio here is staggering considering the franchise we're dealing with, even if learning to beat bosses the hard way is probably the smart approach if you actually want to move forward, still feels pretty good. Number 9, Ollie Bulb, Cuphead. Cuphead's boss fights usually involve the player needing to do literally anything but nothing, although there is one slight exception. In the middle of the game's opening fight with the Root Pack, a group of root vegetables you need to take down, you'll battle Ollie Bulb, a rosy-cheeked onion. While instinct will tell you to immediately start wailing on the sentient veggie until he's defeated, you don't actually need to. Ollie doesn't actually mean any harm and will only attack the player if they attack first. And so, if you just stand still for about 10 seconds, he'll realize you mean him no harm, flash you a smile, and burrow his way back under the ground. Simple. Nobody gets hurt. Except for all the other bosses, and you, probably, a lot of times after. Granted, sparing Ollie does come with a price. He'll be replaced with another boss, Horace Radish. Fun fact, this alternate strategy for beating Ollie was only patched into the game 2 years after the release for the Nintendo Switch port, with Horace being a concept character who was cut from the original version of Cuphead. Number 8, Colossus Yeti, Spyro 2, Ripto's Rage. In the Colossus level of Spyro 2, Ripto's Rage, players are tasked with confronting a powerful Yeti which has been causing a major nuisance for the monks living in the realm, even eating one of them. When you eventually reach the Yeti and ready yourself up for what you expect to be an intense boss fight, fate instead intervenes. The Yeti angrily beats its chest and lets out a growl, doing so with enough force that it causes the statue on top of the building to slip through the roof and crush him flat. Cue one of the monk's brother Ned remarking that he expected the Yeti to be tougher than that, and though it's later revealed that the Yeti did in fact survive the encounter, that's still one hell of an embarrassing self-own. For all the fuss and busy work that the game meets about finally making it to the Yeti and being ready to take him on, it's very funny to watch it all go down this way. Number 7, The Living Dead, Monster Party. A majorly deep cut now with cult classic NES game Monster Party. Midway through the kooky horror game, you'll end up facing off against boss duo The Living Dead, a pair of zombies which will eerily implore you to watch their dance. This might seem like an opening to start attacking them, but all combat will do is knock them down and then they'll just get right back up again and go back to their dance. As it turns out, they weren't messing with you. The key to victory is simply to watch the undead twosome dance for about 30 seconds, after which they'll melt into a pile of green mulch, clearing the path for you to move forward. Though most likely assumed the zombies were playing a trick on them and were going to send them into a deathly trance with the dance, they bafflingly told you exactly what to do. One can only imagine how many kids got stuck on this back in the day. Number 6, Luci and Fairfax, Fable 2. Fable 2's final boss is detestable big bad Lord Luci and Fairfax, though even at the best of times, this can scarcely be called a boss fight, because there's little even remotely competitive about it. After using your music box to interrupt his ritual, you're able to pull out a gun and shoot him dead. But even that meager solution seems positively high effort compared to the other one. Let one of your pals do the not so hard work. After screwing up the ritual, you can hang around and listen to Lucian deliver his big bad villain monologue, but after about a minute of gas bagging, your friend Reva is just gonna pull out his gun and pop him off for you. As if to underline the fact that you did basically nothing to kill him, Reva will even make a joke about how long you took to get the job done, sarcastically asking, "Oh, I'm sorry, did you want to kill him?" Number 5, Balrog, Cave Story. Cave Story's lunchbox-shaped Balrog is a recurring boss enemy you'll face 4 times throughout the game, though there's a devilishly simple way to bypass that first fight without even firing a shot. The solution's so simple, in fact, you might not even consider it. After bursting into the room, Balrog will ask you, "So what's your deal? You gonna fight me with that thing?" To which you can reply in the positive or negative. Picking yes will start a conventional boss battle in which you need to rinse Balrog's huge life bar by riddling him with bullets from your polar star. But there's a much easier way to get through it. Simply pick no, and Balrog will indeed pack up shop and leave you alone, at least for now. His 3 other boss fights seem present no such generous offer, but the fact that this one does is pretty darn entertaining. If most assumed there was absolutely no way to weasel their way out of a boss fight here, the game sure showed them. Number 4, Mary, Silent Hill 2. It's relatively well known at this point that Silent Hill's final boss Incubus can be instantly defeated by simply depleting all of your ammo before the fight starts, a failsafe built into the game to ensure that ammo-poor players could still see the end. And in fact, a similar trick was implemented for the second game in the series, with you able to take out Mary with a fairly small amount of effort. If you're out of ammo or just aren't craving an actual competitive boss encounter, simply run around the map for a few minutes, at which point she'll grow fed up of your pacifism and just straight up self-defeat on the spot, quite possibly out of boredom. You do need to deliver one killing blow to Mary, presumably to show the game you actually did intend to kill her eventually, but running around in circles will get most of the job done. Number 3, Professor Nakayama, Borderlands 2. In Borderlands 2 Sir Hammerlock's Big Game Hunt DLC, you'll face off against mad scientist Professor Nakayama, or rather, you're supposed to, but circumstances get in the way. Circumstances being that when Nakayama does finally rock up to take on the Vault Hunters, he spends so long monologuing about how effectively he's gonna beat you guys up, he ends up tripping over the edge of a staircase. We're then left to simply watch as Nakayama tumbles down the steps, bouncing with bone-crunching impact numerous times on his way to the floor, his large health bar being cleaved away in a matter of seconds. As he finally reaches the bottom, Nakayama dies and the game immediately ticks off the Kill Professor Nakayama objective, with players swiftly encouraged to move on with the rest of the mission. After leading players to expect a massive face-off with the boss, this was an incredible old-timer video game fake-out. And yeah, we didn't get to fight him, but it was worth it. Number 2, Richard Dalton, Army of Two. Army of Two's conclusion has heroes Elliot Salem and Tyson Rios preparing to do battle with big bad criminal mastermind Richard Dalton, who flees to the roof of the Security and Strategy Corporation headquarters and leaps onto a waiting gunship. At this moment, players probably thought they were going to do battle with the chopper, and then it would just be the last bit where Dalton died in the chopper that would be a cutscene. Rather than cede control back to the player as expected though, the cutscene continues, with Salem laying down suppressing fire to distract Dalton, while Rios fires a Stinger missile at the chopper, blowing it to smithereens and killing Dalton. Fans were miffed enough about this flabbergasting anticlimax of an ending that 3 months after release, a free DLC update included a more conventional final boss fight against Dalton, where you actually got to, kill him yourself. While we can't say with absolute certainty that this DLC was cooked up by EA Montreal as a response to the fan backlash, it does seem pretty likely. Number 1, Leggett Lanius, Fallout New Vegas. In conventional play, Fallout New Vegas' final boss fight will see players take on the mighty monster of the East himself, Leggett Lanius, who can pose a supremely irritating challenge for players ill-equipped to deal with him. The game does give you a welcome out though if you don't feel like dealing with him, and that's to just not do it. If your speech and barter skills are sufficiently high, you're actually able to talk Lanius out of doing battle together, with various dialogue trees culminating in you convincing him the fight really isn't worth all the bother. Granted, peaceful dialogue isn't exactly nothing, and you'll need to put in the legwork to raise the aforementioned skills beforehand, but it works. Despite the alternative of beefing up and making sure you have enough bullets to put into him and probably dying a few times yourself in the process, it does seem like more of a cakewalk though.